My name is Dr. Roshni Huma. I am Head of Cyber Governance here at Sift. Part of my role is to promote good cyber governance. I'm often asked what that means. We're all familiar to some degree with the classic definition of corporate governance, meaning the ways in which suppliers of finance assure themselves of getting a return on their investment. But perhaps what's less well known in that classic definition is the next line. How do investors make sure that managers do not invest the capital in bad projects? Using the classic definition of corporate governance as the basis for cyber governance, we can define cyber governance as the ways in which the firm, in this case the supplier of finance, can make sure that the capital that they supply is invested wisely and not in bad projects. However, we can all agree that the cyber threat landscape is incredibly complex and messy. And to help me to understand how law firms make decisions, I'm joined today by Tom Sampson, Information Security Officer with Macfarlanes. Macfarlanes is well known for the quality of its work, not just in dealing with the full range of corporate and commercial matters, but they have an enviable client list that includes many leading entrepreneurs as well as British royalty. It'll come as no surprise to learn that they are laser focused on their client needs and on delivering excellence in the international market. But Tom and I attended the ILTA virtual. We were supposed to be there in person, but COVID restrictions meant that we didn't get to travel to Austin, Texas, which I know for Tom was a big disappointment because he was looking forward to his first rodeo. We were so impressed by the standard of the panelists that we jointly decided to do one ourselves. We're going to talk today about values, the messy cyber security world, where do you even start, how to make a sense of the data so that you can sleep at night and ultimately make defensible decisions. Tom, thank you so much for joining us. Before we get into the weeds of the decision making, talk to me about the values at Macfarlanes that guides your process.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Rosha. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, everybody, depending where you are. So to begin with, our clients are our overarching and primary concern, and we recognise that every business has a duty and a legal obligation to protect their clients and preserve their data. But for law firms, it is more than that. Trust is the bedrock on which our business is built. The SRA, Code of Conduct, compels us to keep the affairs of current and former clients confidential. We take our promise to protect their interests very, very seriously. Lawyers and law firms fight to protect their clients, and we do not want to give up our clients' sensitive information, or worse, give the other side, including bad actors or hackers, an advantage because we haven't made the right call. Not maintaining client confidentiality would be a disaster for law firms that rely on trust and confidence. And we all know this, and we take that seriously. Macfarlanes are forward thinking, and we are proactive in our approach to make sure that we are taking the best measures in protecting our business. And we take the duty of care of our clients' information seriously. And Macfarlanes are part of a supply chain, and we provide a service to our clients. And as part of their due diligence, they'll expect us to maintain sensible and responsible controls so that we protect their information in the same way that they would protect their own.
That is so heartening to hear those values articulated so eloquently. Wherever we strive for high standards, I think that we need to call that out. So we know that businesses don't have endless resources. They don't have finite budgets. They're limited by the man hours in the week. And we know that the cyber threat landscape is incredibly complex with a huge amount of information. You know, we've got 11,000 CVEs, common vulnerabilities and exposures, more are being added every day. Those 11,000 CVEs give rise to millions of unique malicious objects. And then there's a lot of products that promise that they can save the world. Where do you start in your decision-making process?
Well, there is a huge amount of information. It's very difficult to identify where to start and what is the most important area to focus on. To begin with, we aggregate all the available data from what we consider to be credible sources, and we review that data and make an assessment based on the information. So once we pull the important reports and findings together from sources that we trust, we use the conclusions to then further reduce the noise.
So who would Macfarlanes then determine, who would you think are credible sources?
Well, there's any number of credible sources, but one of those at the top of the list, and one that we rely heavily on, is the National Cybersecurity Centre, and they're parented by GCHQ, and that's British for NSA. The NCSC are trusted independent experts and are part of the intelligence community in the UK and tasked with making the UK a safe place to do business digitally. They have advice and guidance for all types and sizes of organisation, from sole traders, small and medium-sized businesses, and large organisations. And they also have guidance for cybersecurity for professionals and the general public as well. And this is all available on their website, and the information is relevant to organisations in both the UK, the US, and wherever in the world you do business for that matter. Their advice is broad-ranging. It including security advice on mitigating malware and ransomware attacks, how to securely configure, deploy, and use cloud services, user awareness training, secure configuration of user devices, as well as general advice on secure passwords and patching. And they also provide various toolkits on how to encourage board-level discussions on cybersecurity, and Exercise in a Box, which is an online tool that helps organisations to test and practice their response to a cyber attack. And also, the NCSC also has an early warning service as part of their CIS platform, which any company or firm in the UK can sign up for, and that's a free service along with all this information.
Oh, will you just go into a bit more about the CIS platform? Just provide a bit of background into that.
Absolutely. So the CIS platform, now that's spelled CISP rather than how it sounds. It's a joint industry and government initiative set up to exchange cyber threat information in real time in a secure, confidential and dynamic environment, with the aim of increasing awareness and reducing the impact of cyber attacks on UK businesses. Now, there's a number of benefits when joining the CIS platform. It provides engagement with industry and government counterparts in a secure environment. It gives early warning of cyber threats, advice to learn from experiences and successes of other users and seek advice. And as I mentioned earlier, the CIS platform also provides an early warning service that includes intelligence and data that is otherwise unavailable to the private sector. And when you sign up to the early warning service, you have to provide details of all your relevant resources, such as externally facing domains and IP addresses. The NCSC will then use the intelligence they gather to alert you on things such as indication of vulnerable services running on your assets. So, for example, outward-facing servers with depreciated versions as SSL version 3, TLS 1.0 or 1.1 that might be enabled that have known vulnerabilities. Activity that suggests an active compromise on your system, and indicators that your assets have been associated with malicious activity, such as resources on your estate being used as a botnet or in phishing campaigns, perhaps. So within the ILTA information security community in the UK, we encourage all firms or any company of any sector, for that matter, to sign up to the CIS platform. And as I said, it's a free service. Helpfully, they produce reports and guidance for critical sectors like retail and energy and legal. And this is a valuable resource, and we take their recommendations and guidance seriously. So obviously there's other credible sources too. And of course, we're regulated to the SRA, and we want to make sure that we're rigorously adhering to their warnings as well. The SRA warn on the legal sector about scams on a daily basis, and on their scam alert page. And we make sure that we robustly defend against known threats that our peers have reported to the SRA. Okay. The Law Society also plays a part in cascading vital information to its members, and have published the NCSC's Cyber Threat Report for the UK legal sector from 2018, and that report is available on the NCSC website, the SRA website, and the Law Society website as well.
That's the NCSC cyber threat report to the UK legal sector is really interesting. Would you just go into some more detail on
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the report was written by the NCSC, and it was in association with the National Crime Agency, Action Fraud, the SRA, and the Law Society. And what they did was looked at all the threats the legal sector was subject to and made the following determination. The most significant cyber threats that law firms should be aware of are 1, phishing, 2, data breaches, 3, ransomware, and 4, supply chain compromise. So the NCSC, so we looked at that and said the NCSC said that phishing is the biggest threat. And when we look at what the intelligence in the US is saying, the FBI's reporting unit, IC3, saying that business email compromise is the biggest threat. And as we all know, business email compromise and phishing are the same thing.
Right, so what we're seeing is NCSC are saying phishing is the biggest, and then the FBI are saying, okay, so business email compromise. I know most people will have a handle on what that means, but just in case somebody is on and they're not familiar with it, could you just give us a definition so we can avoid confusion?
Absolutely. So there's 2 types of business email compromise, and both are technically not sophisticated. And the first type is incredibly unsophisticated. You don't need to have any technical skills. You just have to go to a domain registrar like 123.com and register a domain such as Macfarlanes.com with a 1 instead of the L or a 5 instead of the S, and begin sending emails. And that's literally a 5-minute exercise. So for the recipient and a computer, it's quite easy to guess that it's suspicious or potentially harmful, or at the very least that it's inauthentic. Now that's an amateurish way, but crucially, it's not actually your brand, so you're not responsible, and there's no reasonable way for Macfarlanes to stop that from happening. However, the one you really need to look out for is where they're able to use your legitimate domain. So the email appears to come from your domain, your law firm email address. This is more sophisticated, but it's still not that sophisticated. And you can watch YouTube videos and tutorials that will teach you how to capture somebody's actual domain and send emails from that domain, which makes it look as though it's authentic. And crucially, the computer that receives it believes it's genuine. And a computer or recipient cannot reasonably know that the email is fake. So it's no wonder that 90% of cyber attacks happen through this type of business email compromise. And it's easy and it works because it fools people. So the Sony hack happened in this way. The Podesta DNC leak was also through business email compromise, and that's just to name just 2. And 70% of ransomware and 90% of data breaches start with business email compromise. And I talked about earlier what is most important, and that's our data and our client information. And the biggest flow in and out of your business is email. And the simplest method for a hacker is to gain access to your business is through business email compromise. So if you address this threat, it stands to reason that you're reducing the attack vectors that bad actors can use to steal your data.
Okay, great. So you now know what the most significant cyber threat is. How do you fix the problem?
So there's a recommended solution. The recommended solution is a global industry standard in DMARC. The NCSC has guidance on how to implement this, and DMARC is recommended on both sides of the Atlantic. And the UK government decided that DMARC is so important that they mandated that it's a minimum cyber security standard to defend against business email compromise. DMARC is key to defending your domain, and DMARC is the email authentication protocol. And as we all know, protocols are a fundamental building block. So if you know something is done at a protocol level, you must implement it. And we started our DMARC journey in 2018, and we've been in DMARC protection mode now since 2019. And since then, we have been defending individuals and organizations from hackers attempting to impersonate the firm with emails that appear to come from Macfarlanes. So we're protecting the business as much as we can from business email compromise. We ourselves don't want to be defrauded, and we don't want our clients to be defrauded. And even beyond that, we don't want anyone to be defrauded in Macfarlanes' name. And that's where DMARC really makes a difference.
Great. So during the week, Google have made an announcement. They said that they will enable organizations who authenticate their emails using DMARC to validate ownership of their corporate logos and securely transmit them. So once these authenticated emails pass all of their anti-abuse checks, the email will land together with the firm's validated logo into the recipient's inbox. So this arises because of a new standard. Talk me through this new standard and what it means. And yeah.
Absolutely, I think it's a great move forward. So simply BIMI, that's B-I-M-I, so as it sounds, is an email authentication standard that delivers your brand's logo, as you said, to the inbox of the recipients of all your legitimate emails. So clients will see who is protected when an email lands by displaying your business's logo. It'll help to train users to identify potentially malicious emails. The logo provides reassurance that emails are authentic, and when it's not visible, people will naturally mistrust them or exercise more care. BIMI provides benefits to the whole email ecosystem by requiring strong authentication. Users and email security systems can have increased confidence in the source of emails, and senders will be able to leverage their brand's trust. You must have DMARC configured properly and to the right standard in order to implement the new BIMI email authentication standard. By having your logo appear beside every one of your emails when it's received is a good selling point. It gives your clients comfort and confidence that you're doing the right thing. And this should help to promote the importance of DMARC configuration and BIMI to your business.
So you talked about what BIMI is. How do you think it will accelerate the adoption of DMARC?
Well, I've just talked about the presence of a logo and why that's important and how it shows that your email is legitimate and protected. And given what we know about business email compromise being such a huge threat, the absence of a logo would have the opposite effect. On the one hand, the presence of the logo indicates really strongly that you've taken reasonable steps to protect the recipients of your emails. Also, the absence of a logo will alert clients to the fact that the email is not protected, may not be authentic, and you're not following the right protocols and standards, and unauthenticated emails could be sent using your brand to send malicious emails containing malware or viruses potentially. We would want our suppliers to also follow the standards we are following so that they're protected too, which also protects Macfarlanes from business email compromise via the supply chain. So relating back to the NCSC report for legal, we are protecting against phishing or business email compromise and reducing the opportunities for bad actors to deploy ransomware and reducing the opportunities for bad actors to steal your data, and also part of supply chain good housekeeping.
Excellent. Right. So we started off and the objective was to understand how law firms make decisions in this complex and messy. Let me just recap. So you aggregate all of the data, you see what credible sources you've included, NCSE, FBI, you also referenced the SRA and the Law Society. So what are they saying? You've unpicked that it's phishing as the most significant risk, business email compromise. You've made that determination. That's the most significant risk to threat to the legal sector. The global industry standard is DMARC. You do that, and then you're cleaning up quite a significant portion of that messy landscape. Would that be it?
You've hit the nail on the head there, Rush. You pretty much said anything that I said in the last 15 minutes within 30 seconds.
Yeah, I've never had the accusation of brevity leveled at me, so I'm going to take that as a compliment, Tom. So there's interesting parallels that I see in a decision in a data breach case in the United States. So I'll just quickly give people the facts. It was a case of MD Anderson. They're a cancer research center. This is for the law firms who are from the UK. The US will know about this. So they're a cancer research center, and they obviously have very sensitive information. They had a number of devices that were either went missing or were stolen, but crucially they were not encrypted. So the presumption in law is if a device is not encrypted, then there's a data breach. So you could drop a USB stick down a storm drain so that there's no reasonable chance a bad actor could get its hands on it. But if it's not encrypted, there's a de facto data breach. So the reasoning in the judgment went something like this. Data breach, is this a problem? Yeah. Is that problem well known and understood? Yes. Is there a solution? Yes. What is it? It's encryption. So is that well known and understood? And actually the data breach occurred in about 2012, and encryption is well known, you know, for many years before that. Would a reasonable IT director know about it? Yeah. Did in fact the IT directors know about it? Yes, they did. And they had proposed it as a solution, but it got cut off at budget stage. Is it affordable and proportionate to deploy? Yeah. So we have a big, well-known problem with a well-known solution that a reasonable IT director would know about, that's affordable to deploy, but they didn't do it. And so then they ended up with a record fine. And I can see those parallels with DMARC. You know, is it well known and understood? Yeah. Who says so? All of these credible sources. So it demonstrates that the courts don't expect, so that judgment and the reasoning in the judgment demonstrates clearly that the courts don't expect firms to be able to see around corners, right? But they do expect them to be able to see the writing on the wall. And you don't have to deal with the unknown, but you really need to address the known. And for where you have limited budgets, you don't need to worry about expensive state-of-the-art solutions, but you do need to deploy, you know, run-of-the-mill or global standards. So I'm just going to throw it open to questions. We have a question here. So it says, please could you confirm the 4 most significant cyber threats? It was, I got phishing and ransomware. So it was phishing.
It was phishing, 2 data breaches, 3 ransomware, and 4 supply chain compromise. So phishing, data breaches, ransomware, and supply chain compromise.
Great. So that's one of the questions. I have another one. Could you repeat the name of the report, the NCSC report that you referenced?
Yep, it's a bit of a mouthful. It's an NCSC's cyber threat report for the UK legal sector 2018. And that report is available on the NCSC website, the SRA website, and the Law Society website. So just search for NCSC, probably cyber threat report, and that hopefully should come up.
Who does the minimum cybersecurity standards apply to? That's the question.
The UK government has enforced DMARC validation for all of their departments and key third-party services, including legal service, actually. So there's a minimum cybersecurity standard for all their third-party and their departments. So if your firm does work for any of these related parties and you're not compliant with the DMARC protocol, this is something you really need to start looking at. And even if you don't, if you do implement DMARC, for any client, this should provide reassurance you take email security seriously when you do implement it.
Once Macfarlanes decided to implement DMARC, talk me through how Macfarlanes selected a product to help configure DMARC.
Sure. So peer recommendations is really important. And with Macfarlanes being a member of ILTA, it really allows us to engage with contacts at other law firms and find out what they're doing and partners that might of interest to provide the services that you're looking for. So, for example, with DMARC. So once you've got a shortlist, you then do your own due diligence and investigate their solutions and make sure they provide exactly what you're looking for, but also make sure the solution is future-proofed. And it's likely to lead to a long-term relationship with that supplier. And what's also important is that people are making sure that they're experts in the area and you get the support that you'd expect.
I have one question myself. If you had to pinpoint one element that enables Macfarlanes' info security team to implement solutions quickly, what would you think that would be?
We have a really good senior management team, actually, that's supportive of and believes in the importance of protecting our clients' information. It's really important having the right leadership that believes in what you're doing.
That's a great note to end on. We promised it would be short. We're just coming up to 25 minutes. Let's wrap it up there because we have no more questions. If you would like to learn more about DMARC or on DMARC, then please reach out to a member of the team or you can find me on LinkedIn. Thanks. Tom, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for joining.
Take care. Bye-bye.